Welcome in Oracle Station with Minafisa, Informatics Technology, Electronic Engineering, Polytechnic Institute of Surabaya. With lecture Rega Asmara Eskom OCA. Creating database triggers. After completing this lesson, you should be able to do the following: describe different types of triggers, describe database triggers and their use, create database triggers, describe database trigger firing rules, remove database triggers. Types of triggers. A trigger is a PL or SQL block or a PL or SQL procedure associated with a table, view, schema, or the database. A trigger executes implicitly whenever a particular event takes place. A trigger can be either application trigger, fires whenever an event occurs with a particular application, and database triggers fire whenever a data event, such as DML, or system event, such as logon or shutdown, occurs on a schema or database. Code lines for designing triggers. Design triggers to perform related actions, centralize global operations. Do not design triggers where functionality is already built into the Oracle software that duplicate other triggers. Create store procedures and evoke them in a trigger if the PL or SQL code is very lengthy. The excessive use of trigger can result in complex interdependencies which may be difficult to maintain in large applications. This is the example of database trigger. Creating DML triggers. A triggering statement contains trigger timing for table before and after, for a view instead of, triggering event like insert, update, or delete, table name on table or view, trigger type, row or statement, when close, restricting condition, trigger body, PL or SQL block. TML trigger components. Trigger timing. When should the trigger fire? Before. Execute the trigger body before the triggering DML event on the table. After. Execute the trigger body after the triggering DML event on a table. And instead of execute the trigger body instead of the triggering statement. This is used for views that are not otherwise modifiable. The DML triggers components. Triggering user event which DML statement causes the trigger to execute. We can use any of the following: insert, update, and delete. Trigger type. Should the trigger body execute for each row statement evoc or only once? Statement. The trigger body execute once for the triggering event. This is the default. A statement triggers fire once, even if no rows are affected at all. For row, the trigger body executes once for each row affected by the triggering event. A row trigger is not executed if the triggering event affects no rows. Trigger body. When action should the trigger perform, the trigger body is a PL or SQL block or a call to a procedure. Firing sequence. Use the following firing sequence for a trigger on a table when a single row is manipulated. This is the DML statement, and this is the triggering action. Use the following firing sequence for a trigger on a table when many rows are manipulated. And this is the DML server, and this is the triggering action. Syntax for creating DML statement triggers. This is syntax. Remember, triggers name must be unique with respect to other triggers in same schema. Creating DML statement trigger. This is the example. You can see this is the syntax. Testing secure AMP. This is the syntax. Using conditional predicates. Setting, inserting, updating salary. You can see the syntax. Creating a DML root trigger. This is the syntax. This is the example. Using old and new qualifiers. This is the example. Using old and new qualifier example using audit AMP table. Restricting a root trigger. This is the sample. Instead of triggers, insert into my view in application. After that, instead of trigger, insert table and update table in my view. Creating an instead of trigger. This is the syntax. Creating an instead of trigger. Insert into AMP detail that is based on employees and departments table. You can see the syntax like this, and this is the output. Yeah, next. Differentiating between database trigger and stored procedure. Triggers defined with create triggers, otherwise procedures defined with create procedure. Triggers data dictionary contain source code in user triggers, but procedures data dictionary contains source code in user source. Triggers implicitly invoke, but procedures explicitly invoke. Commit, save point, and rollback are not allowed in triggers, but in procedures, commit, save point, and rollback are allowed. Differentiating between database triggers and form builder triggers. Let's see the diagram. Managing triggers. Disable or re-enable a database trigger. Alter trigger name, disable, enable. Disable or enable are triggers for a table. Alter table name, disable, enable all triggers. Recompile a trigger for a table. Alter trigger name, compile. Drop trigger syntax. To remove a trigger from the database, use the drop trigger syntax. Drop trigger name. For example, like this. Remember, all triggers on a table are dropped when the table is dropped. Trigger test cases. This tests each triggering data operation as well as non-triggering data operations. Tests each case of the when clause. Cause the trigger to fire directly from a basic data operation as well as indirectly from a procedure. Test the effect of the trigger upon other triggers. Test the effect of other triggers upon the trigger. Trigger execution model and constraint checking. 1. Executes all before certain triggers. 2nd, look for each row affected. Execute all before row triggers and execute all after row triggers. And next, execute the TML statement and perform integrity constraint checking. And the last, execute all after statement triggers. This is the example of trigger executing model and constraint checking. A sample demonstration for triggers using package construct. and this is the number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. After row and after statement triggers. This is the syntax. Demonstration var package specification. Now this is var pack.sql. Using the audit AMP procedure, this is the syntax. Summary. This is the diagram. This is the procedure, package, and trigger. Practice overview. This practice covers the following topics: creating statement and rule triggers, creating advanced trigger to add to the capabilities of the Oracle database. Okay, thank you for watching my video and see you.